INFF Facility. My name is and I'm a regional team leader on inclusive growth of UNDP in the regional Istanbul Hub. And I have the privilege to moderate this discussion today. As we are slowly approaching the end of the conference and we are settling our impressions, I would like to once again reiterate our gratitude to the government of Turkmenistan for hosting us here in the beautiful city of Awaza. I'm certain that the numerous contributions, the practical experiences that were shared during the plenary discussions, but also during the side events like this one, were excellent opportunity to share experiences and to contribute to implementation of the Awaza program of action in the next decade. But before we delve into the substance of today's event, I would like to just briefly share a few words about the INFF Facility, INFF initiative. As many of you know, this is a joint effort which has been spearheaded by UNDP, UNDESA, OECD, UNICEF, the European Union, but also with support of the government of Spain, Italy, and Sweden. To date, over 85 countries globally have adopted the INFF approach, including 23 out of 32 LLDC countries. And I'm mentioning these figures because I think they speak for themselves about the importance of discussing this topic today. And when we talk about the illustration of the importance of this event, I would refer to a quote from our former administrator, Mr. Arthur Steiner, who said that there is enough money in the world, but unfortunately they are not equally distributed. They are not allocated in the right places and in the right amounts. And just for illustration, just 20% of global capital is held in the developing countries, which are home for over 84% of the population. So basically the main vision of this INFF facility is to bridge this gap and to support alignment of the investments and financing with the actual development goals for people's well-being, but also for the health of the nature. So from this perspective, really we are also pleased that the aspects of INFF, the blended financing, concessional financing, is also integral part of the Awaza program of action, because I think this will be further impetus for implementation of this initiative. But I will stop here. I think that over the past 4 or 5 years that INFFs have been implemented, there has been such a rich experience and knowledge that has been collected, and I think this is a wonderful opportunity to share country experiences, to share experiences from the partners, so we can take a stock where we stand, but also we discuss how to proceed with this agenda. But I will stop here with my introduction. I'm pleased to invite His Excellency Mametoglu Aslanoglu, the Minister of Finance of Turkmenistan, for his opening remarks. The floor is yours, Mr. Minister.
Уважаемый госпожа председатель, уважаемые дамы и господа, позвольте от имени правительства Туркменистана приветствовать всех участников сессии «Мобилизация финансирования ЦУР в странах с низким уровнем доходов через интегрированные национальные финансовые механизмы», проводимые в рамках Третьей конференции ООН по развивающимся странам, не имеющим выхода к морю.
Dear Madam Chair, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the government of Turkmenistan, I would like to welcome all participants of the session on unlocking SDG Finance and LLDCs through integrated national financing framework held as a part of the third UN conference on LLDCs.
Прежде всего, хотел бы отметить актуальность проблематики, рассматриваемой в ходе данной сессии, по обсуждению обсуждение нового глобального подхода к финансированию устойчивого развития, который является основополагающим направлением реализации повестки 2030 и от которого зависит выполнение экономической, экологической и социальной составляющих.
First of all, I would like to underline the relevance of this issue discussed during this session on a new global approach to financing sustainable development, which is a fundamental direction for the implementation of 2030 Agenda and on which the fulfillment of its economic, environmental and social components depend.
Развивающиеся страны, не имеющие выхода к морю, сталкиваются с серьезными вызовами мобилизации ресурсов. Ограниченный доступ к мировым рынкам и цепочкам создания добавленной стоимости затрудняет их полноценное участие в мировой экономике и международной торговой системе.
LLDCs face serious challenges to mobilize resources, limited access to global markets and value-added supply chains, restrict their full participation in the global economy and international trade system.
На 4-й международной конференции по финансированию развития, которая проходила в Сибири в начале июля этого года, было озвучено, что достижение устойчивого развития существенно отклоняется от графика, и дефицит финансирования ЦУР в развивающихся странах составляет около $4 триллионов в год.
During the 4th International Conference on Financing for Development, which was held in Seville in July this year, it was highlighted that achieving sustainable development goals largely deviates from that schedule, and the deficit of financing SDGs is about $4 trillion in a year.
В условиях глубоких преобразований и трансформации мировой экономики, растущей геополитической напряженности, нужны решительные системные меры и структурная трансформация экономик развивающихся стран для преодоления разрыва между целями в области устойчивого развития и объемами финансирования, выделяемыми на их достижение.
It is necessary to have the systemic measures and structural transformation of the economies of developing countries to bridge the gap between the goals in the field of sustainable development and the financing available to achieve amid deep changes and transformations in global economy and rising geopolitical tensions.
Ключевыми приоритетами вопросов финансирования являются диверсификация и развитие зеленой экономики и экономики замкнутого цикла, активизация развития науки, внедрение цифровых и инновационных решений, развитие устойчивых транспортных систем и логистической взаимосвязанности, развитие бизнеса и упрощение торговых процедур, расширение региональной интеграции.
The key priorities of financing are diversification and development of green economy and circular economy, activating development of science, introducing digital and innovative solutions, developing sustainable transport systems and logistical connectivity, business development and simplifying trade procedures, expanding regional integration.
Принятый в Сибири итоговый документ 4-й международной конференции по вопросам финансирования и развития подтверждает обязательства, принятые в Адис-Абебской программе действий.
The outcome document of the 4th International Conference on Financing for Development in Seville confirms obligations adopted in Addis Ababa Action Agenda.
Сибирское соглашение стало первым с 2015 года межправительственным соглашением по вопросам финансирования развития, объединяющим 3 ключевых направления дальнейших действий: масштабное привлечение инвестиций в устойчивое развитие, решение долгового и финансового кризиса в странах с низким и средним уровнем дохода, а также глубокую реформу международной финансовой системы.
The Seville Agreement became the first intergovernmental agreement on development financing since 2015, which combines 3 key directions for further actions: attracting significant investments to sustainable development, addressing debt and financial crisis in low and middle-income countries, as well as deep reforms in international financial system.
Обновленная глобальная рамочная программа по финансированию для развития позволит обеспечить доступ к дополнительным и инновационным финансовым ресурсам, будет способствовать устранению дефицита финансирования.
Renewed global framework program for finance and development will provide access to additional and innovative financial resources and will contribute to addressing deficit in financing.
Уважаемые участники, Туркменистан активно поддержал Аддис-Абебскую программу действий по финансированию, внес ряд предложений по механизму финансирования развития как на страновом, так и на глобальном уровне.
Turkmenistan has actively supported the Addis Ababa Action Agenda for Financing Development, introduced some proposals aimed at financing mechanism for development at the country and as well as global levels.
Хотел бы отметить, что Туркменистан с 2021 года внедряет комплексный национальный механизм финансирования. В июле 2023 года на политическом форуме ООН высокого уровня наша страна представила второй добровольный национальный обзор по выполнению целей устойчивого развития. Основываясь на результатах его рассмотрения, наша страна расширяет свое сотрудничество с ключевыми партнерами по вопросам имплементации стратегии 2030 и по мобилизации ресурсов из внутренних источников за счет повышения национальных возможностей по доходам.
I would like to underline that Turkmenistan has been introducing a comprehensive national financing mechanism since 2021. Our country presented voluntarily national review on SDGs, implementation in the UN High-Level Political Forum on Sustainable Development in July 2023. Based on the results of its review, our country expands its cooperation with key partners on the implementation of Strategy 2030 and on the mobilization of resources from domestic sources by increasing national revenue capabilities.
Проводимая работа по вопросам финансирования устойчивого развития позволила нам по-новому взглянуть на принимаемые меры по имплементации ЦУР, а также определить дальнейшие шаги. Одним из основных привлеченных органов заключается в необходимости продолжения совместной работы по ускорению внедрения комплексных механизмов финансирования и привлечению различных финансовых инструментов для достижения повестки 2030.
The ongoing work on financing sustainable development provided new insights into the measures to implement SDGs, as well as to identify further steps. And one of the important lessons taken from it is the need to continue working together to accelerate the implementation of integrated financing mechanisms and attract various financial instruments to achieve 2030 agenda.
Наиболее приемлемым механизмом финансирования считаем также меры, способствующие мобилизации ресурсов из всех возможных источников финансирования, включая государственно-частное партнерство и расширение механизмов долгосрочного финансирования частного сектора для ускорения достижения ЦУР. Увлечение частного бизнеса и финансов имеет решающее значение для устранения дефицита финансирования развития.
We also believe that the most appropriate financing mechanisms are measures that facilitate the mobilization of resources from all available sources of financing, including public-private partnership and expansion of long-term private sector financing mechanisms to accelerate the achievement of SDGs. The involvement of private sector, private business and finance is very critical to eliminate the development of financing gap.
Создание интегрированных национальных финансовых механизмов оказывает позитивное влияние на реализацию целей и задач повестки 2030. Хотел бы отметить, что достижение целей устойчивого развития во многом зависит от глобального партнерства и сотрудничества. Вместе с тем, на наш взгляд, подразделением ООН и Международным финансовым институтом необходимо продолжать расширенную поддержку странам путем предоставления необходимой технической помощи и доступного финансирования, чтобы поддержать поэтапное достижение всех 17 целей устойчивого развития. Важной ролью в этом процессе выступает поддержка разработки качественной, надежной и устойчивой инфраструктуры за счет расширения финансового и технического содействия.
The creation of integrated national financial mechanisms has a positive impact on the implementation of the goals and objectives of the 2030 agenda. I would like to underline that the achievement of SDGs largely depends on global partnership and cooperation. At the same time, in our opinion, UN agencies and international financial institutions need to continue to provide expanded support to countries by providing necessary technical assistance and accessible financing to support the gradual achievement of 17 goals. An important role in this process is given to the support for the development of high-quality, reliable and sustainable infrastructure through expanded financial and technical assistance.
Наша страна приветствует меры по своевременной реализации соответствующих программ и стратегий развития для стран, находящихся в особых ситуациях, включая Дохинскую программу действий для стран, не имеющих выхода к морю и другие.
Our country welcomes measures for the timely implementation of relevant programs and strategies for countries in special situations, including the Doha Program of Action, the Program of Action for Landlocked Countries and others.
Современный мир находится в поиске новых форм и механизмов финансирования развития, которые будут более эффективными и инновационными. Мы готовы работать с заинтересованными сторонами и проложить курс в будущее, не оставляя никого позади.
The modern world is looking for new forms and mechanisms of development financing that will be more effective and innovative. We are ready to work with stakeholders and pave a course for the future, leaving no one behind.
Хотел бы пожелать всем участникам заседания крепкого здоровья и успешной работы в рамках данного мероприятия. Благодарю за внимание.
I would like to wish all participants strong health and every success in your work within the framework of this event. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Minister Astanaklu, for the excellent framing of the session by providing both the global perspective but also zooming into the specific country experiences. And I usually want to mention the three key messages from this address. And for me, the first and foremost is the importance of partnerships and collaboration, working together. Then the importance of development of innovative financing instruments for investment at scale, but also targeting the investments for structural transformation of economies. I think this is really the key. And with this, perhaps we can move on with our next speaker, our colleague Samuel Doe, UNDP resident representative in Ethiopia, who will also deliver his opening remarks on behalf of UNDP, but also on behalf of the partners from the INFF Facility. Samuel, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Moderator. Your Excellency, Honorable Astanaklu, Minister of Finance of Turkmenistan, Excellencies, distinguished panelists, colleagues. It is a great honor to welcome you to this important side event on behalf of UNDP and His Excellency the Minister on unlocking SDG Finance in LLDCs through integrated national financing framework. Also on behalf of our colleagues who are members of the INFF Facility, UNDP, UNDESA, UNICEF, OECD, EU, Spain, Sweden, and Italy. As we gather here at LLDC3, we are reminded of the global commitments that have shaped our collective efforts to mobilize sustainable development financing, particularly for the most vulnerable countries, including LLDCs. We recall with renewed determination the Addis Ababa Action Agenda of 2015, which laid a comprehensive foundation for financing sustainable development. It underscored the critical importance of aligning financing flows with national priorities and the Sustainable Development Goals, emphasizing the need for integrated approaches to development finance. More recently, at the Financing for Development Conference held in Spain, the international community reaffirmed these commitments, recognizing that achieving the SDGs requires innovative, inclusive, and coordinated financing strategies that leave no one behind. LLDCs face unique and formidable challenges in mobilizing development finance. The development financing landscape of LLDCs is characterized by rising debt vulnerabilities and limited access to productive investments, reflecting both the structural constraints LLDCs face and the broader challenges of development financing in a volatile global environment. According to the INF, as of September 2024, 5 of the 11 countries classified as being in debt distress are LLDCs. Another 7 LLDCs are considered high risk. These countries face acute challenges in meeting their debt obligations, leaving them highly vulnerable to external shocks that could further destabilize their fiscal positions. These challenges necessitate focused attention and tailored support to unlock sustainable financing pathways in LLDCs. Integrated national financing frameworks have emerged as a transformative approach in financing architecture to address these complexities by aligning all sources of finance, public, private, domestic, and international, with a coherent national strategy. INFFs enable countries to identify financing gaps, prioritize financing policies and reforms, and foster partnerships that catalyze financing in line with their development goals. UNDP's global strategy to support countries in developing and implementing INFF is grounded in this understanding. We have partnered with over 80 countries worldwide, including over 20 LLDCs, to build an INFF process, including conducting comprehensive development finance analysis, establishing multi-stakeholder governance structures, and designing financing strategies that integrate fiscal, monetary, and investment policies. INFF approach emphasizes strong imperatives, capacity building, policy coherence, strategic prioritization, and leveraging innovative financing instruments such as thematic instruments, blended finance, and public-private partnerships. These efforts aim to create sustainable, transparent, and efficient financial ecosystem that accelerate progress towards the SDGs. Esteemed delegates, allow me to share a compelling example from Ethiopia, the largest LLDC in Africa and one of the dominant economic powers in East Africa, where UNDP has been privileged to provide technical and policy support in developing the Ethiopia Integrated Sustainable Financing Strategy. Ethiopia's experience vividly illustrates the urgency and potential of integrated financing frameworks. The country has faced multiple economic shocks in recent years: high inflation, declining foreign and domestic investment, shrinking official development assistance, widening fiscal and current account deficits, a low tax to GDP ratio, and unsustainable public debt levels. Recognizing the need for a new development financing paradigm in an uncertain global environment, Ethiopia's Ministry of Finance championed the formulation of Ethiopia's integrated financing strategy. This strategy is comprehensive and forward-looking. It seeks to restructure debt, deepen policy reforms, boost domestic savings and investments, and accelerate public-private partnerships and blended financing solutions. Importantly, it integrates sustainable financing into sectorial investment plans by developing sector-specific financing strategies and enhancing the capacity of sector ministries to deploy innovative financing mechanisms. The strategy is anchored in Ethiopia's 10-year development plan, the homegrown economic reform agenda, and the SDGs acceleration plan, ensuring alignment with national priorities. Its implementation roadmap is organized around macroeconomic, public, private, and thematic financing pillars, aiming to strengthen revenue generation, modernize financial management, improve domestic capital accumulation, and promote inclusive access to finance. Governance arrangements are evolving, with a coordination secretariat established within the Ministry of Finance and operational platforms such as the Public-Private Dialogue under the Ethiopia Investment Commission and tax reform task forces already active. Progress has been made in digital taxation, the restructuring of state-owned enterprises, and early-stage public-private partnership development, while other reforms like capital market liberalization and gender-responsive budgeting are underway. While challenges remain, such as activating the digital reform tracker and results dashboard to enhance transparency and adaptive learning, the Ethiopia experience exemplifies how integrated financing frameworks can be tailored to the unique context of LLDCs, fostering resilience and sustainable development. In closing, Ethiopia's journey underscores the critical role of partnerships, technical expertise, and political commitment in unlocking SDG Finance in LLDCs. At this event, we will hear similar stories from other countries where UNDP support and those of other INFF partners are also extended. This will hopefully enrich our discussion to arrive at collective solutions that will help us forge ahead as we race towards 2030. UNDP remains steadfast in supporting countries to harness the full potential of integrated national financing frameworks, ensuring that financing becomes a transformative enabler, not a bottleneck, for inclusive, green, and sustainable development, and one that leaves no one behind. Thank you, and I wish you a productive deliberation.
Thank you, Sam, for highlighting some very important and relevant points, and that is this proportional debt stress by the LLDC countries that are additional constraint for financing development objectives in the countries. And what I think we should, and also for reflecting that INFFs really can offer a new financial infrastructure, new financial architecture, so that the financing gap doesn't yield into development gap. And this is something that really we should avoid in the future. And the innovative tools that have been developed as part of the INFF process really can help to mobilize resources and allocate them into things that matter for people and the planet, and as you said, that no one should be left behind. Thank you. So with this framing, now we can move to country experiences and to hear hear from three representatives, country representatives from the government and from the UN system, how the INFF has been implemented in practice. We will start with the example from Malawi. Today we have with us Mr. Adel Zembele, who is, I would say, at the moment serving as Director of Economic Planning and Development in the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs. He is a career economist in the ministry, working on different positions related to macroeconomic analysis, policy development, but as I saw in your bio, you are also a focal point of Malawi for LLDC, and you have been instrumental in negotiating many different treaties and also implementation of the Awaza program for action. So I would, before I give you a floor, I would like to frame my, let's say, question to you. Malawi recently launched, as far as I know, the integrated financing framework as a component of INFF. So we would like really to, against the backdrop of some development challenges that were highlighted by Mr. Samuel, like the poverty, economic vulnerabilities, climate risk, how is the INFF process in Malawi aligned with the sustainable development processes? So how do you do this alignment of the financial flows with country priorities?
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. Yeah, so just to agree with the previous speaker, as we are developing the integrated national financing strategy, or INFF, we look at what are the country priorities. And of course, in the case of Malawi, just as other countries, we look at the sustainable development goals, for example, but also at the continental level, we are also looking at the African Union Agenda 2063. And then when you go to the national level, we have a long-term plan for the country. We are calling it the Malawi 2063. The idea is by 2063, Malawi should be self-sufficient, taking care of our development needs. In other words, we should be self-sustaining. That's the vision. And as you can imagine, we are talking of a vision spanning up to 2063. So may look far-fetched because the planning period is long. But we have developed an implementation plan for that vision, in which case we are talking of 10-year implementation plans. So right now we are in the first phase of implementing such 10-year implementation plans. So when we talk of the integrated national financing framework now, we are now looking at what are the development priorities that we are talking about. Mind you, we have mainstreamed the global and also the continental or regional frameworks into the implementation plan for the Malawi 2063. So, the integrated national financing framework or strategy is speaking to the key priorities of our 10-year implementation plan. For example, we are talking about improving agrarian productivity, that's at the national level. We are talking about achieving industrialization as a country. Of course, we see tourism as a low-hanging fruit. Of course, Malawi has also been discovering a number of minerals, mineral resources, and the one that we just came about it is we have uranium, Okay, and so we are making sure that we leverage on the local minerals that we have. Of course, we have other minerals as well, gold, for example. So we as a country, we are like, okay, so we have development needs. So how do we align the financing with the development needs of the country? So it's in this aspect that the INFF is supposed now to respond to the development needs as highlighted in the National Development Framework. So in short, that's the starting point, because you need to ensure that the framework is responding to the needs of the country. That's the starting point. So that's what I would say at the beginning.
Thank you very much. Working us through this process and really once again reinforcing the importance of the alignment of long-term development goals and alignment, as you mentioned, vertical, global, regional, and national and local, but also horizontal across different sectors. I think that this integrated planning and linking them with the financing is essential. I will move to the next speaker from Lesotho, Ms. Malineo Sebokoli, Director in the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Business Development. As I saw in the bio, we have another career public officials who are working in different senior positions in the Ministry of Trade and Industry and Business Development, but also Ms. Sebokoli is a chairperson in the National Trade Facilitation Committee. So also rich experience in strategy development, including in agriculture, mining and natural resources. So I have also very similarly framed my question around similar, I would say, aspects. I think what makes Lesotho distinctive is that you are paying particular attention to inclusiveness agenda and the dialogue with the public and private sector. So in that respect, we would really appreciate if during your presentation you accentuate how Lesotho has been using the INFF to particularly reinforce the gender equality, inclusiveness and public-private partnership.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. I believe this is a good time to discuss the INFF because we are in a time when we are facing a very sharp decline in the development financing that is coupled with growing disruptions in international trade as for us and Lesotho we promote export-led growth due to the size of our economy and the size of the population that we have. So the integrated national financing framework we don't view just as an alternative, but as a vital tool for aligning our national priorities with the sustainable financing strategies. As we have already indicated, our national strategic development plan is centered around driving private sector-led economic growth and job creation. And at the heart of this approach is our commitment to creating an enabling policy environment, strengthening the public financial management systems, and fostering platforms for dialogue and evidence-based policy making that actually encourage collaboration between the public and the private sector. I must mention that even recently we have signed public-private dialogue memorandum of understanding between the government and the representation of the private sector, and we have held a number of such dialogues in order to ensure that collaboration is strengthened. Our INFF is focusing on consolidation of the gains that we made and making sure that we have a more transparent and equitable financing ecosystem. And it encompasses three main key actions. That is one, implementing a gender-sensitive financing framework that safeguards fiscal sustainability and stimulates partnerships. And the second action that is prioritized is enhancing the transparency and efficiency of public investment programs by strengthening the public sector capacity. And the third one is establishment of a policy framework that promotes dialogue and shared values across government, civil society, the parliament, and the private sector, so that the future investments can be more aligned and make more impact. Our INFF process at the moment is on the integrated national financing strategy is at the final stage of preparation. We are already finalizing the strategy and we plan to launch that strategy before the end of the year. But there are other several implementing initiatives that are underway, such as the rollout of the SDG investor map and the implementation of the SDG taxation framework that is under the Task Force SDGs initiative. And also within that, we are receiving a collaboration from the European Union and the UNDP to support our aid coordination efforts for strengthened alignment and effectiveness in the that we have in our ODA. I think also I should indicate that the development of this strategy has been very widely consulted with the involvement of the private sector, the civil society, academia, and many government ministries. Like now, as I'm presenting, but this part of the INFF program, but it is led by the Ministry of Finance. So these discussions that we have together have been very good in identifying policy options and institutional champions, so that this work that is not centered in one institution, as we are driving private sector-led goals. I think, in short, our INFF strategy will prioritize the gender-responsive budgeting and gender-sensitive tax policies. We had already started on undertaking gender audits of our budgets in the high-lottery ministries. So it was now we use the experience that has been learned from there to integrate into the strategy. I think this has offered us an opportunity to align our policies, institutions, and financing with our national priorities, while at the same time we are ensuring that no one is left behind. And also to navigate our cost constraints, strengthen our domestic resource mobilization, and also explore innovative partnerships. And that's how to conclude. I just want to indicate that this journey is still in progress, as the launch of the INFFs is only a means to an end. It's not like we are done, it's just giving us a framework to work around. And we welcome any available technical and financial resources support for effective operationalization of this strategy, including the matching support to allow opportunities of access to finance for the MSMEs. Thank you.
Thank you. For the great contribution. A few things that resonated during your presentation were definitely the aspect of collaboration and support of the work with the private sector. I think this is key in the future. The second, I would say, takeaway for me is the inclusive process that you have generated, and this is that INFF for Lesotho is not a product, but it is a process that in a way gathers many other processes along the way. Like you mentioned, basically working on the governance of public finance management and how to make it more transparent and more efficient. And it's excellent also to see that there are also some additional elements to align the taxation for SDG, alignment of ODA. So it seems that really it has been a kind of process that has underpinned many other important processes for alignment of the financing. Thank you really for this contribution. Now I will move to the next country representative, this time from the UN system. Ms. Rita Columbia, the UN resident coordinator in North Macedonia, my home country. And we have another former representative, UNDP representative in North Macedonia, Ms. Marina Sakarkian. So Macedonia is very well represented today. So Ms. Columbia, my question is related to the experience of North Macedonia in green financing facility, which is often seen as a strong example of an integrated approach to financing sustainable development, particularly in terms of blending the private sector and public sector financing. So from your perspective, what, and I think this is one of the examples that have been quoted very often as a success story. So from your perspective, what principles and lessons from the green financing facility could be relevant for other LLDC countries?
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be here, Your Excellency, the Minister of Finance of Turkmenistan, dear distinguished guests, partners, colleagues, friends. Thank you so much for this conversation, which is indeed very important, especially at the times as my neighbor just mentioned, that the times that we face today in terms of the ODA and financial situation that hit all of us, all the countries. So before I directly respond to your question, Vesna, I want to give a context. What is this green financing facility and why it was established? North Macedonia has 60% of North Macedonian electricity is generated by coal as of today. And those of you who are familiar with the country, you may witness a smoke, especially during winter time, so which really affects the health of people living in North Macedonia, specifically in the capital or in any other towns of the country. So the air pollution is the highest in Europe. The air pollution is odium. The Green Finance Facility was established as UN joint program, especially to improve air quality and combat the climate change in North Macedonia. And that was that's commitment that three agencies took upon their shoulders. UNDP was one of the leading agencies within this project, but also IOM and UNESA. So with the support from the joint SDG fund, it's UN fund, as some of you may know, and support from the financial support from the government of North Macedonia. So the UN worked together to leverage blended finance from EBRD, European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, so, and also from private financial institutions, mainly private commercial banks. So the key partners within this project, of course, it was the government, the Prime Minister Office, the Minister of Finance, Minister of Environment and Physical Planning, Minister of Energy and Mineral Resources. So, as I mentioned, European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, private finance institutions. Without the political will and all engagement of the government, this project wouldn't be as successful as we are talking about it now. It's still ongoing. It's in the second year of implementation. The key target population for this initiative is small and medium enterprises, undeserved households, including women and single-parent households, households of returning migrants and remittance recipients, and households of people with disabilities. Basically, the essence of this project is to make sure that people would use, especially commercial enterprise, and that households would use renewable energy instead of the coal. So that's the idea. Okay, now straight to your question. I have 5 lessons that I want to present, and I hope these lessons will be useful for all the landlocked developing countries, since renewable energy is something that's very important for us. The first lessons, integration and multi-stakeholder partnership is really the power for such initiatives. As I mentioned, the GFF was born from integrated approach, so anchored in national development priorities, co-created with public and private stakeholders. So this alignment, this inclusiveness ensured that the facility was not a standalone project, and rather it became a catalyst, which is embedded within the country's broader development architecture. And it's also, this modality is also integrated in the National Development Strategy that was adopted last year. Again, I'm looking at Narina because I started with her, and Narina, so congratulations. Your baby was born successfully as well. For landlocked countries, developing countries, this means that financing mechanism must be rooted to national ownership, integration across sectors, ministries, and partners, and it's really a necessity. And that's something that we should take not by default, but actually put attention. The second lesson that we already learning today, blended finance is actually a game changer. Especially for small countries, like North Macedonia is a small country, it's about 2 million people. So, and it's landlocked, there is no access to sea, there is, right now we are building, well, the country is building 2 corridors for transportation, linking with other countries, but it still faces quite challenges. So, at the heart of GFF, the powerful principle is public capital can unlock private ambition. By using concessional finance to de-risk investments, the facility attracted private sector participation in the areas previously deemed rather risky, such as renewable energy solutions. This is a critical lesson for all of us. We must shift the narrative from scarcity to opportunity. Blended finance allows us to leverage limited public funds to crowd in private investment, especially in sectors like renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, resilient infrastructure. So this method accelerates the achievement of sustainable objectives. The third, I'm sorry that I'm speaking too fast. Okay. The third lesson, local capacity, is extremely important. And when we start this initiative, we really need to think how to strengthen the local capacity. Otherwise, the transformation will not last long. So, and that was one of the most powerful enablers, was investment in local capacity, particularly among technical experts, consultant, financial institutions. So, the GFF worked to strengthen the skills and knowledge of local partners, ensuring that energy efficiency projects were not only bankable, but also technically sound and socially inclusive. It's critical insight that we are getting even today, that building local ecosystems of expertise is essential to scale up green investments. I want to underline that North Macedonia right now experiences a quite high emigration, so out of migration of the country. That's why building capacity is not one-day exercise. It's a constant initiative. And it needs the budget needs to be there for building global capacity. The number 4, maybe for other countries it will be different, but that's what we face in North Macedonia. The fourth lesson, the just transition is our guiding star. We really need to have that vision, where we're going. And it's very important that GFF was designed with a just transition at its core. So it prioritized social inclusion, gender equality, inclusion of persons with disability, and support for other groups of society, which are not usually among the first to join and benefit from green transition. And again, that's why the political will is extremely important, and engagement of different ministers is also the key. It's not only energy and finance. So, okay. We implementing the principles of no one left behind, whatever we do, but I also want to underscore it, because without these principles, we will just empower those who already have the means and resources to do that. And the last lesson I want to share with you is energy independence and resilience. For many countries, like landlocked developing countries, the absence of domestic energy resources translates into heavy reliance on energy imports, which comes often at high cost and significant vulnerability to external shocks. The GFF experience highlights a critical pathway forward, accelerating the adoption of renewable energy and energy efficiency is not only a climate solution, it's actually a strategy for sustainable development. And that's what we're already seeing today. We investing in solar, wind, and other renewables. We diversify the energy mix, enhance energy security, and build resilience against global energy market volatility. So this dual approach that we have, renewables and efficiencies, empowers the country to reduce dependence on imports, strengthen national sovereignty, and contribute meaningfully to global climate goals. So it's wins for everybody, for people, for planet, and prosperity. And just for the first year and a half of its operation, the Green Finance Facility already showed some extra remarkable results. 3.5 megawatts of new renewable energy capacity installed, which saves, this is the numbers I have to read. 3,714 megawatts of electricity, avoided 2,700 tons of greenhouse gas emissions. And by the end of its implementation, that will be in April 2027, the GFF expected to deliver further impact following cumulative impacts, like 10.7 megawatts of new renewable energy capacity installed, more than 70,000 megawatts hours of annual energy savings, and more than 80,000 tons of CO2 equivalent emissions avoided annually. So, at the same time, North Macedonia experienced explosive growth of solar power capacities from 9% of the country's electricity production in 2023 to 26% in April 2025. You can see how the jump. And that was all possible just to open the opportunity for households or small and medium enterprises to have access to finance, to affordable financing, plus the technical expertise. Again, that was very important. So, Olex, the Green Finance Facility is not, of course, a one-size-fits-all solution. It's not a solution.
Inclusive process. I'm out of the country for 12 years, but I'm closely following. I think over 14,000 people were consulted throughout the process of what are the development objectives of the country, and over 100 civil society organizations were consulted. So really it helped to develop a kind of united strategy. And what is important is that you mentioned just transition and air pollution. Now the UN agencies, in particular UNDP, is working with the ministry also to align the legislation, tax incentives. I think that recently also energy tax was introduced as part of the new energy law, and also new excess tax on tobacco was all
Yeah, we have a new energy law which allows to expand access to renewable energy, and also I will repeat the words of the Minister of the Energy. What she told me, that it also allows creating the communities for renewable energy, that like small communities that can share the energy among themselves. So it also will empower the communities to sell and buy energy. So that's kind of things. But again, I want to give credits to UNDP first of all, and also to other agencies working together next to each other. IOM working with the migrants, and we have UNICEF providing technical support. But what I like about this initiative, this facility, that it brought together not only UN agencies, but also it brought together commercial banks. And now the banks themselves, they are asking for technical support from EBRD, from UN agencies, to help them to establish similar loan schemes. So, thank you.
Thank you, thank you. In the interest of time, now let's move to the partners. You mentioned that partners are important, and our next speaker is the Ambassador Maria Asunción Sanchez-Ruiz, Chef d'Affaires of in the Embassy of Spain, on the Embassy of Spain in Tashkent. And my question is related to the role of Spain in INFF Facility. As a member of the INFF Facility, how does Spain view the potential of integrated of these INFFs for the LLDC countries? How can these global partnerships really further incentivize investment in sustainable development goals?
Well, thank you very much, Madam Chair, and Your Excellency, Mr. Astanabulov, distinguished panelists, and dear delegates. Well, allow me first to start by thanking the Turkmen government for their hospitality and for hosting us during this week. It's been an excellent organization and conference. We still have tomorrow, but thank you very much for making this possible. And also to UNDP for making this panel in such a timely moment following up on the Sevilla conference. And I think that all of us deserve bonus points for being here so late after these 4 long days. So the fact that all of us are here means how important this topic is. So thank you also to you for organizing this. You know, Spain is firmly committed to the Agenda 2030 and the achievements, and we are very well aware of the importance of financing. And that's why this is very dear to our heart, and that's why we took the initiative also politically to organize this conference in Sevilla at the end of June. That I have to say I felt very proud during these 4 days because Sevilla came up so many times that I have to admit that it felt really close to my heart to see how my country could contribute to such an important and timely conference. As you mentioned, Spain, together with the European Union, and Italy, Sweden, UNDP, the OECD, has been supporting the implementation of these integrated national financial frameworks on the ground for the last 3 years. We have assessed the positive impact of the adoption of these financing strategies in more than 85 countries, resulting in reforms and effective planning to mobilize national resources. Now in 2024, we spent €2 million. One of them was allocated to implementation on the ground, and €1 million to the INFF Facility. Now, as you know, this facility provides technical assistance, financial resources, and it monitors the national financial strategies for the SDGs through multi-stakeholder network. Now, Spain will have a few suggestions, if you allow. One of them could be strengthening administrative decentralization processes in order to promote territorial provisions and subnational government financing processes in the SDGs, which in our view will enable the local dimension to be integrated into the INFFs. In addition, the facilities and the framework should be linked to other global initiatives promoted by the UN, such as the Global Accelerator for Employment and Social Protection, promoting universal protection, the creation of decent jobs, and continuing education programs. And finally, well-designed integrated INFFs can provide greater clarity on how to use best the international resources, and Britta just mentioned is a clear example of how this tailor-made and ownership approach is the right way to follow. Now, the Sevilla Commitment identified INFFs as the most effective instrument, and that's why we push for it and we included in the Sevilla Declaration. We are very committed to the principle of ownership. We believe that's the only way that make things work, when they feel it's their own, and when there's this political support and push to it, and when the different stakeholders work together towards this objective. And we also support inclusive platforms that bring together the efforts of all the recipient countries, including, of course, the landlocked countries. Now, Sevilla urged developing countries to formulate national budgets aligned with sustainable development goals within the framework of the INFFs, and we are also committed to attracting foreign direct investment to make this possible. Now, we believe that the spirit of Sevilla has to be honored, and we've been talking a lot during these days about it. There is a strong willingness to follow up and to continue. We have now the Awaza action plan, and Spain will continue working to boost the financial development agenda for the sustainable development, and contribute to making a reality the agreements reached in Sevilla, but also here in Awaza. So a strong commitment from our side. You can count on our support, and I thank you very much for the efforts made so far. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Ambassador, for the continued commitment, but also for the very clear recommendations on the way forward. So I will continue in the same direction with the Ambassador Beata Pexa. We've heard today that INFF is a global process, and there are many interesting examples. But it is a process; it's not an end on the shore. And the demand seems to be growing in the future as the countries are experiencing financial issues. So, can you share with us, what is the commitment by the EU side to continue this?
Yes, yes. Thank you very much, and also let me go. As in here in thanking, of course, the government of Turkmenistan for organizing the UNDP and colleagues here for gathering us to discuss this important subject. As you just said, right? The fact that we are still 7:30, and still discussing, finances for development. It is something that I think exemplary. Indeed, for the last 4 days, but of course it's obvious. It's obvious statement probably that it was many times underlined that we face more and more problems, obstacles in the sustainable development goals implementations, especially LLDC. These countries have especially problems when it comes to their access to lower markets and sustainable development growth. That's one thing. On the other hand, you have donors, donor countries, or more lucky countries with better budget, but they face more and more problems now with exactly gathering money and providing ODA to those in need. So we really need, and Sevilla was mentioned many times, and I will probably mention it again. But we really need a new approach to the gathering and mobilizing finances. And any longer, that's our opinion, and it was stated very often, that public funding alone, but also international donors financing alone is not sufficient. And we have to look for possibilities to mobilize, first of all, private private funds. This is critical to closing the investment gaps, especially investment gaps in LLDCs. So we look at our, of course, examples as the EU, because we also are facing, this less and less resources to more and more needs. So the Global Gateway Initiative was the answer by the European Union institutions, but in this Team Europe approach, institutions and member states that are gathering grants from institutions, loans from international banks, and investments from member states. With partnership with third countries, with partnerships with other international donors. So this is this approach that we are trying to implement also on the ground. So for example, here in Central Asia, you have this few initiatives, global gateway initiatives being implemented. One of them, the connectivity, transport connectivity initiative. We gathered already, certain amount of commitments from international banks. We have EIB, we have ADB, we have EBRD on board with certain possible loans and guarantees, bank guarantees. We have European Commission money for possible grants that would serve around these investments done by banks, and we have member states and their private companies. That's the most important. Their private sector that will come and having guarantees of this, for example, EIB will be able to implement, and also to mobilize other resources to support Central Asian countries in their growth. So this idea, this philosophy actually is very similar to the philosophy of this integrated national financial framework, mobilizing whatever we have and coordinating into one goal. And this is why, of course, the European Union, since the introduction in Addis Ababa in 2015, has strongly supported INFFs as the essential tool. And also, it's been said, Compromiso de Sevilla also highlighted this INFFs as an essential tool in Sevilla Platform for Action. There were also many examples and proposals presented to scale up country-driven approaches for financing sustainable development and climate actions. And finally, we have to, of course, mention this program of action of Awaza that is also highlighted by INFFs as the key mechanism to overcome financial challenges and support inclusive climate resilient growth. Now, two issues that I would say, as again, we are making these lessons learned, and already we heard many positive examples from countries that are implementing this philosophy, this approach. There are many others, like Mongolia strategy that improved across sectors and financial resources, or Uzbekistan here in Central Asia that issues sovereign SDGs bonds to attract international capital for green infrastructure and digital connectivity. So a lot of already is happening. But what we see, what it may be also needed perhaps more, of course, and where the European Union would be willing to help and support. One thing is the capacity building for being able to implement and to work with this great instrument. The capacity building that is focused on improving public finance by enhancing revenue mobilization, for example, international tax cooperation, combating illicit financial flows, improving spending efficiency to transparent procurement, yes, and strategic investment management, good governance, etc., etc. So this is something where, of course, we have our experience from the, also especially in those newer member states. We have candidate member states that are also changing already their governance, financial governance very much. So we have this experience that we are able to share and also work with our international partners. And when I mention international partners, the second issue that I want to underline that is very important. This is strengthening the, of course, the country-driven mechanism of coordinating donors on the ground. I mean, donors can coordinate themselves. We have experiences from the countries where we're serving in. We are, of course, can read national development plans, action plans, etc. We can try to coordinate ourselves. But what is really needed is really country-driven mechanisms established by governments, mechanisms with civil society participation. That would be the best, and international donors. I think we have in many countries very good examples. We have very good example here in the Ministry of Finance concerning WTO integration, future integration, where the Ministry of Finance is coordinating donors with a very strong hand. We need this also from other issues. And I think it's worldwide when we talk about the international coordination and organizations, what is needed. So our full support, of course, to the INFF Facility. We will continue this. We commit ourselves to for further support. So thanks again.
Thank you so much, So we work as UNDP also in the enlargement countries, as you said, and basically the name of the game is integrated financing. So there are no many standalone grant projects, but basically what you mentioned, the modality of linking grants with guarantee scheme, financing instruments, and then investment from the private sector. This is the future, I would say, of the development financing in many countries. So this is a group of very committed people and we stay late, but I think there is also a limit. So I think that we should gradually slowly close the meeting. But before we close the meeting, I would like to give the floor to the Minister of Finance to close this rich discussion today.
Уважаемая госпожа председатель, уважаемые дамы и господа, прежде всего, позвольте поблагодарить всех участников данного заседания за состоявшуюся полезную дискуссию.
Dear Madam Chair, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to all participants of this meeting for a very useful discussion.
Особая признательность нашим спикерам, которые представили очень содержательную